on a prone board. Woo!
This might look like cheating, and you know what? It is, but it's also the most fun Lightwind Parawing session that I've ever had. When the forecast is total crap, this combo of FoilDrive, a 5.0 trench board, and a 4.7 meter Parawing turns a dead morning into a downwind playground. Today, I'm going to show you how it works, what makes it feel different, and how to dial in your technique so that you can fly when everybody else is either flailing around or packing up ready to go home. Now, make sure you stay until the end because I'm going to share with you a new Packaway hack I found, and it only cost me $2. Look, the problem is simple. You need heaps of grunt to get you up on foil, but once you're up on foil, you've got to dump that power somehow. You could use a massive Parawing, you could use a super efficient downwind board, or indeed a big pump foil, but they all bring their own problems, and it takes away from that surf feeling that we're all craving. So I often end up standing there on the sand, staring at white caps that never appear, convincing myself that it's 12 gusting 15 knots. Now, does that sound familiar? Well, that's when I started experimenting. What if you could use a FoilDrive purely as a launch system, just to bridge that gap between zero and flight? Then, once on foil, switch it off, forget about it, because once you're flying, you'll be surprised how little wind you can actually use to get Parawing in. Now, for this to work and to really get that Parawing feeling, there are a few important tweaks to the kit. Now, I'm talking about proper upwind, downwind sends that feel as good as, if not better than your classic 20 knot sessions. So, with that being said, here's my full 8 knot Parawing setup. Now, the small board is key, and this is where the magic happens. It just feels incredible. Now, equally important to me is having a trench. This makes it feel so much more agile and connected. I'm on a 5.0 38 litre trench, and I've tried this setup on bigger boards like a 60 or 70 litre, and it works, of course, but you lose that crisp, alive feeling. Now, 40-ish litres feels electric. It's small enough to compensate for the weight of the FoilDrive, especially when it's swallowed in the board. With this setup, you feel the foil, the bumps, everything. It's like I've discovered a new sport. So next up is the FoilDrive itself, and I'm using the Assist Max with the sports battery. I did experiment with the slim, and if I was on a regular board, i.e. no trench, that's what I'd go for. But with a trench, the Max just fits perfectly, and it stays on my board all the time for those dedicated FoilDrive sessions. With this in mind, I usually need only 1, maybe 2 boosts to get up. Then it's off for the rest of the session. That means I use a fraction of the battery, but it is a get out of jail free card for when the wind completely dies. So the gold standard here is absolutely an integrated mast. They're super efficient. You don't notice the pod dips, either cranking upwind or actually downwinding itself. But alas, I don't have mine yet, so I'm running it old school. I use the 80 centimeter mast with the pod mounted at 15 centimeters from the base. It works fine, and actually it teaches you to ride more efficiently. So with the foil, it depends massively on the conditions, but lately I've fallen back in love with the Code 1130S. It turns beautifully, and it gives me the pump and glide I need for the chaos of no wind, Parawing deployment. It gives you time to sort the wing, rest, recover, and when the bumps are firing, well, then I'll step it down to the 860R with a medium fuse and the 120 tail. Now, for the wing itself, it's all about balance. Enough power to go upwind, but still easy enough to handle. And I've settled on the F1 frigate at 4.7. Any smaller, and I struggle to make ground upwind and that lighter stuff, but any bigger, it starts to feel clumsy. For me, this is the Goldilocks size. Now, you need to tweak your jibe technique a little bit, and we'll get onto that soon. Okay, trust me when I say this can go wrong really quickly, so try and stick to this method. I've had some absolute shockers, like with wings tangled around the foils, lines everywhere, but since I've adopted this method, it's been flawless. Everything's harder in Lightwind, so discipline here pays off. First, before you head out, make sure your wing is packed away tightly in a stash belt, as high on your waist as possible, and try and keep it dry. Get on foil quickly using a regular FoilDrive method and then motor upwind. Now, you need to go upwind enough to give yourself time to get sorted on the downwind leg. Now, the key is to find a really good bump. This is crucial because a lot needs to happen at once. So here you can see I'm on a good bump and it's giving me that crucial time. I'm fully foiling now, no assist, controller off, tucked away in the wetsuit. And yes, I know I shouldn't admit this, but I don't use a controller leash. It just makes stashing it so much easier. Next, grab your wing from the stash belt. Remember to use a tried and tested packing method so that you know that it will deploy tangle-free. Now, I use the wrap bag technique. Check out Dan's video on his foil wrap channel. I dangle the wing to the right side so that I can turn upwind to my regular stance. The key here is finding a bump that lets you turn smoothly and then bring the Parawing into the wind in one clean motion. In the light stuff, you'll probably have zero apparent wind, so you've just got to create your own by swinging the wing at the same time that you head into the wind. You get one shot at this, so make it count. It's a confident, deliberate movement. Do that and you'll be up and going. Next up is a foot swap, which allows me to track back upwind again, really cranking it into the eye of the wind. Another collapse jibe, which sets up for the right tack for a fresh downwind run. Full stash away using the wrap bag technique and off you go. Living the dream. This is such an epic feeling on a small board. I barely notice the FoilDrive anymore. This for me is the pinnacle of foiling. I absolutely love it. When it's time to deploy again, same routine. I get it out, let it dangle, give it some time to sort itself out, and then I swing it into the wind at the same rate that I'm turning, and then you're flying again. So crash happens, but recoveries are simpler than you think. Don't waste time trying to relaunch in the water. It just won't work. You're on a small board with no wind. It's just a recipe for chaos. First, draw the wing and drain out all the water. The beauty of the wrap bag technique is that it even works when the wing's fully submerged. Concertina that leading edge, grab the bundle, drain, fold, and you're good to go. Look, you can stash it in your belt again, but that tends to catch a lot of water, as of course you're probably submerged on your small board. I prefer to hold it in my left hand, rest it on the nose, keeping it clear. I then grab the controller, power up, and then get going. Once I'm up, I redeploy the wing immediately and sail for a bit to dry it out before stashing it again. You got to remember, when it's soaking wet, this will be the hardest deploy, so you got to pick your bump especially well. Now, here are a few lessons that I've learned the hard way. And the first one is don't rush the Parawing deployment. Wait until you see that leading edge clear and the lines are untangled before turning up for the apparent wind. It takes confidence and good bump selection. Next, stay high on the mast to avoid those pod dips. It's a great training aid for regular Parawing. All the best downwinders ride on that lower third of the mast almost all the time. And then lastly, going upwind in light air is challenging. You've got to keep trimming that wing close to the edge of the window. Lean into the harness, crank that board over, and twist the head, shoulders, and hips upwind. Before I sign off, I just want to share this epic little Packaway hack that I stumbled across, and it only cost me $2. Right here is the inside of a roll of tape, and it works perfectly as a drawing for your Packaway. It just so happens to fit exactly around the end of the bar when you're sailing along. And when it's time to pack the wing away, it takes all of that awkward friction out, making for a smooth, consistent draw every time. Honestly, I reckon this will be the trend for Parawings in 2026. Brands bringing out efficient Packaway systems standard. But until then, this cheap hack has been working perfectly for me. Look, I'll leave all the dimensions for the drawing in the description below if you want to give it a go yourself. And also let me know what hacks you've seen or come up with yourself. As with always, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Until next time, I'll see you on the water again soon.